Hey everyone! Today we're wrapping up our talk on demagogic tricks. Those sneaky tactics people use in arguments to dodge real discussion or make their point sound better without solid reasoning. We're focusing on the last two big categories: ignoring the other side's arguments altogether and discrediting them instead of dealing with them head-on. I'll keep it straightforward so it's easy to follow, even if you're not into deep philosophy or debate stuff. First off, ignoring the argument. This happens when someone senses they can't really counter what you've said, so they just act like it doesn't exist. If you're debating them, stay alert and push back. Don't let them slide away without answering. One simple way is straight up ignoring. The person just keeps going with their own points as if you never spoke. In a live debate, they might talk over you or not let you get a word in. Or, after you lay out your case, they repeat their old stuff, word for word. Or they tweak the wording a bit, but keep the same idea, even though you just showed why it's wrong. This works best on crowds that aren't thinking too hard and already agree with them. With a sharper audience, they might let you talk a ton first. Pile on all your points. Then they dive deep into answering just a few, usually the first or last ones. They hope everyone forgets the rest and all that chatter. It's perfect if the moderator cuts them off for time. Like, see, I was ready to explain everything else, but they wouldn't let me. Another big one is steering the conversation away. Starting like they're responding, but sneaking it off topic so no one notices. A classic is shifting the blame or pointing fingers elsewhere. They bring up something kinda similar, but not really the same, like analogies, and then talk about those instead. Or they turn it back on you. The basic, you're one to talk. Like, you accuse me of demagoguery, but you're doing it. Or making up stuff about you, tied to the topic. A common version is answering a question with a question. This flips them from defending to attacking. And they keep piling on more questions to avoid answering yours. Call it out early. Remind everyone whose turn it is. But sometimes asking back is fair if your question's vague and they need clarification. Here, a tricky person might ask something fuzzy on purpose, then flip it when you clarify. They might also say your question is just a small part of a bigger issue and jump to that bigger one. It could be true, but often it leads to bad logic tricks we talked about before. Or they zoom in on one tiny detail in your argument, something minor, and make the whole debate about that. If you slipped up there, even if it doesn't hurt your main point, they hammer it hard to make you look totally crushed. Even without a mistake, dragging it out lets them avoid the big stuff. Bring it back to the main topic yourself, or ask the moderator to. Messing with words is huge too. They use terms differently than you, maybe switching mid-debate. Prove something with the common meaning, then say, I meant something else when losing. Or use vague words that could mean anything, so they can claim victory later. They might equate unrelated things, like calling both abortion and the death penalty murder. Or nitpick your words. In history debates, argue it's Nazism not fascism, or socialism not communism, to dodge the real issue. This shifts to word fights and makes you defend instead. Twisting your thesis is another. They attack a warped version of what you said, often yanking quotes out of context. Or prove something totally different from what's needed. A nasty twist is exaggeration. Taking your point to a ridiculous extreme, ignoring middle ground options. Like liberals hearing any regulation idea and yelling, so lock everyone up and bring back the gulags. Inverting presumption flips who has to prove what. Normally, some things are assumed true until proven otherwise, like innocence until guilt. They demand you prove the opposite of their claim. Believers love this. Prove God doesn't exist. Point out why the usual presumption makes sense. Otherwise, everything imaginary exists until disproven, which is nonsense. They might demand stuff from you to keep debating, like special conditions that favor them. If you agree, they win easier. If not, they blame you for scaring them off. Explain that this is unfair. Trading theses. I conceded your point, now you concede mine. Nah, we're not bartering. Relativism. Everything's relative. No absolute truth, everyone's right in their way. Ask if that statement itself is absolute truth. Some things are subjective, like tastes, but real debates aren't about that. Worst of all, denying logic entirely when cornered. They say logic's flawed, or doesn't apply to faith, love, etc. Quotes like, "I believe because it's absurd." This admits defeat. Call it out. Now, the other big category. Discrediting the argument. Instead of ignoring or answering fairly, they trash your points or you personally to sway the crowd, not you. Discrediting the thesis means calling it bad without checking if it's true or false. Then claim bad equals false, or even if true, it's too bad to accept, like some political correctness. Straight trash talk. That's nonsense. Your ideas are shallow. Demand proof. Direct emotional appeals. How can cold logic make us give up love or our sacred victory? Emotions aren't arguments. Truth doesn't care if it's nice. A twist. Force you into a personal bad scenario. You say execution errors are rare. Would you want to be one? Say no, but we're talking society-wide benefit, not personal fear. Flip it back if probabilities allow. Loaded language. Swap neutral words for slanted ones. Scouts for us, spies for them. Or add so-called. It's okay in heated opinion pieces if truly deserved, but not in science. They might smear your supporters as bad guys or praise their opponents as heroes without hitting you directly. Appealing to morality in non-moral debates, wrong, unless the debate's about morals. Call it out as no real arguments. Linking your idea to hated people or ideas, like calling something fascist loosely. Or the opposite. Claiming good sources back them, but maybe outdated or from wrong fields, like celebrity opinions on science. Scaring with consequences. If we admit this truth, disaster follows, like offending people into violence. Call it cowardly. Truth matters more than fear. Discrediting you personally is dirtier. Truth doesn't depend on the messenger. But it's common, like smear campaigns. Slender. Outright lies or unproven dirt. Demand proof and consequences. Insults. Rude attacks to rattle you or look bad if you snap back. Stay calm, pursue if legal. Provocation. Bait you into losing cool. Fake dumb questions, hit sore spots unrelated to the topic. Spot it and explain calmly. Linking you to bad allies, real or fake. Highlighting real traits as flaws. Turn positives like firmness into stubbornness, or irrelevant stuff like age. Or relevant but still wrong. Judge arguments, not the person. Some flaws make debate pointless, like with fanatics, but explain why you stop. Accusing hidden motives. You're against this because you're paid, scared, or jealous. Even if true, which is rarely, it doesn't touch the argument's truth. That's it for these tactics. Spotting them helps you argue better and not get played. Questions?